Welcome everyone to the Microsoft 365 Community Conference sponsor webinar series. It's Ella Fernandez again, and I'm the head of the connections here at BTechly. Joining us today is our sponsor, Shure. Today's session focuses on build the smartest AI-powered workplace with Shure. But before we begin, a few reminders. To join the live Q&A, you'll need to register for the webinar. If you haven't registered yet, simply scan the QR code on the screen or visit btechly.com. Select today's session and enter your business email address. Once you're registered, our team will add you to the calendar invite, which include a link to join the Q&A chat at the end of the session. And please note that the Q&A is not live streamed. Join us at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference this April 21st to 23rd in Orlando. Register by heading to nextgen365events.com or scan the QR code on the screen. Use the discount code SAVE150 to get $150 off on your registration. Apply for the Microsoft 365 Community Grant Program built for small businesses and nonprofits to help you accelerate your AI journey with hands-on learning, expert guidance, and financial support to attend hashtag M365Con26. You scan the QR code on your screen or visit us at change3e.com/grants. And of course, please like, subscribe, and follow both BTechly and the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. Without further ado, let's get started and enjoy today's learning session.
Hey there, everyone. My name is Josh Blaylock. I am the Global Director of Alliances and Engagement at Shure on our new Strategic Alliances team. And today, we're going to be talking about, as you can see on screen there, building the smartest AI-powered workplace. And as we're all aware, AI-powered workplace has been a term that has been coined more or less by Microsoft to describe all the different collaboration tools, the way they all intersect, and where AI and Copilot and agents are at the center of all of that. And we're going to talk about how we design our spaces and things that we need to think about in our spaces to enable that type of strategy and goal, right? Before I jump into that, just a little bit about me. Like I already mentioned, I'm a global director, alliances and engagement here at Shure. Been here for about 8-ish months. Time is flying, having a lot of fun. We're doing some pretty cool things in this space. Also, I'm a Microsoft MVP, been in the Microsoft MVP program, focused in on Link Server and then Skype for Business, and now Microsoft Teams and AI-powered workplaces for about almost 10 years now. It's, coming up on a decade there. So that's been a pretty fun. I like doing things like this, right? I like to get on and do instructional sessions. I like to create content. I love to geek out on tech devices with how-to videos and device overviews. And that's all been part of me evangelizing the Microsoft Teams story for a good number of years now. So that's me. Easy to find on LinkedIn. Happy to make new connections. Feel free to throw a connection out there, and I'll do my best to keep you up to date with what's new in the Teams world and what's new on the Shure side of it and how the two relate together. So let's talk a little bit about our AI strategy and how it relates back to the way we design rooms and the thought we put into room design when we're looking at not just your traditional conference rooms, but all the spaces that we find ourselves collaborating in. Because in a post-COVID world, that's actually evolving and morphing quite a bit, right? We've got these open areas that we're actually conducting meetings in our offices. There's more rooms that have, that they're not your traditional conference rooms. They've got glass walls, or they've got other challenges that are acoustically challenging as well as visually challenging. And they are meant to kind of represent the new way in which we get together and collaborate in person. But they bring a whole new set of challenges for how we pick the right equipment for those spaces. So we'll talk about a little bit of that. We're going to dive really heavily into the idea that all of that is really just feeding into the AI strategy that you are adopting at the platform level, right? As your organizations are diving further into the Microsoft Teams world, you're hearing more about how Copilot is a key part of that, how agentic experiences are transforming the way we do things. And we're seeing that our workflows are actually going to change as a result of that. It makes us have to go back and really rethink the way that we are equipping rooms, right? And the way we're setting up the decisions we're making about that. We have to ask ourselves this question here: is the AI strategy that we're adopting actually smarter? And this is not just a platform question. This is not just about Copilot. This is about the whole embodiment of what collaboration looks like in our environment. And it's a challenge to sit there and ask ourselves this question and to really dive into what that means and what we might be missing, because we can easily say, well, yeah, it is smarter. We bought some Copilot licenses. People are starting to ask Copilot things and streamline some work, and so we are adopting it, and we have a smarter workplace. We've got these new workflows. We've heard and seen Microsoft present on stage and demo cool things like facilitator and interpreter and these agentic experiences, and we're getting closer to seeing how these actually get streamlined into the way we work, but we haven't really pivoted in many other areas. And this is where we have to ask ourselves the question of, what are we actually trying to achieve here, right? What is next for us in this journey? I'm going to go on over to this slide here. So, a couple stats that I kind of want to share, and I'm just going to walk through these really quickly because, to be honest, I'm not someone that really likes doing stats on slides that much, but they can be powerful and they can really help to solidify the point you're trying to make and the direction you're going. So I'll share a few here that just kind of highlight where organizations that are focused on ROI, achieving ROI, on the investments they're making on the software platform side, the licensing as it relates to that, and the devices as it relates to that. That ROI is something that they want to know, because they don't want to have to be looking at a few years down the road, renewing things, renewing device choices, making platform pivots, and wondering if they ever really recoup the cost that they sunk into it. So when they properly harness collaboration and communication, as we see in these three cards here, we see that it actually has some pretty real results. This first one: financially thriving organizations, and we all want to be that, right? We all want to be in an organization that we can honestly say is financially thriving. Well, those organizations, they're actually 2 times more likely to invest in collaboration tech for the purposes of increasing their agility, their efficiency. They understand and they see how it does allow them to change their processes, how it does allow them to streamline what they're doing. So they are proactive. They're 2 times more likely to get into making those investments to help out on the ROI side of that there. That next stat: 71% of organizations, 71% say that collaboration in and of itself improves ROI. That's a pretty that's a pretty big thing to think about, right? The fact that if we're using collaboration in the way it's intended to be, and we're diving into the story as it unfolds alongside our friends at Microsoft, alongside the partners we've chosen to equip our rooms, it actually contributes toward that ROI in a positive way. Finally, communication is the number one workforce factor that's driving technology ROI. So again, don't want to dwell on this slide for a long time or hammer these points home. It's just good to know that when you're pushing in a direction, you're making investments as a company to expand the technology side of things, to make sure that this AI powered workplace that you're pursuing and being advised to pursue, there's actually return on the other side of that. And as we can see by some of this early research from the IDC, there is a lot there to that story. Now this slide I like a lot, and I like where this slide is going and what it makes us think about. So that question: what does intelligence first really mean? And the essence of what this slide is talking about is talking about data points, because AI, as it relates to our work streams and the way we're designing rooms, right? AI requires data. And a lot of this is like, well, what does this have to do with designing rooms? And we'll kind of get to how it ties back into that. But it requires data to work with. It needs to use actual uh, digital artifacts, documents, etc., to create the stuff that it's going to use. So when we think about intelligence first, we need to be feeding the AI platform data. And this is making companies stop and focus on, well, what data are we giving it? What are we exposing it to? And what actually, this is the interesting question, what actually constitutes as data? Some of these are givens that you see on the screen. Email, right? It's a written digital artifact that is like, oh, this is something that is discoverable by a system. It can be searched and leveraged to create things or to provide answers. Documents, another easy one. Presentations. These are all forms of written, as our chats, right? Our chats and teams, they're written communications, they're written things that we can go and point Copilot or an agent at and say, do this for me. Help me streamline this workflow, and it's easy to understand how they do that. But a couple other ones here that you start to scratch your head a little bit, right? You look at that and you say, well, wait a minute. Conversation as a data point, in person meetings, especially. I get hybrid meetings, maybe, because in a hybrid meeting, we've got people that are in a room at an office, and then we've got people that are spread out and they're all part of the same meeting. If there's a transcript there, if we've recorded the meeting, okay, there's some digital artifacts that we can now point our AI at and say, use this stuff. So I get that part, but an in-person only meeting, the conversation I'm having with someone in one of our little meeting cubbies that's more informal, but yes, it's part of our collaborative workflow on a project or a goal we're working on, but it's just an in-person conversation. How is that a data point? And that's the point, is that we have never really thought of those interactions as data points. But as we work toward this intelligence first environment, as a AI powered workplace environment, all the spaces that we meet in, that we communicate in, all the interaction that goes back and forth between us, whether or not we previously thought of it as a data point, it is now data points. I'm gonna ask for a show of hands, totally understanding that this is a webinar and you're not able to raise your hand in a way that I can see, but I'm going to assume most of you are going to raise your hand to this. How many of you have been in a situation, probably multiple times, where you're thinking, I had a conversation with that person about this one really important thing. I knew there was something I needed to do from that. I didn't jot a note down in the moment to remind myself. And for the life of me, I know it was due soon, but I can't remember what the thing was. How am I going to go and get it without having to chase them down and go try to get them to jog my memory and hopefully they know what I'm talking about? That's a data point for a real outcome that you're working on that wasn't captured. And in an increasingly AI powered world, when our workplace is built around these new processes, new procedures, and we're asking our agentic counterparts to step in and do stuff for us, those agentic counterparts, they need all those one-off conversations. They need those to be captured. Otherwise, they can't do anything with them. That's why we have to think about these things as we equip all of our spaces, right? Even in-person meetings that have no remote counterpart, even one-off conversations that we're going and sitting in that one little reserve cubby room that we've got. Even when those rooms, we still need to think about, how are we capturing data points there? And the other way I'll frame this is to say, if you were to go to your compliance officer or equivalent in your organization and say, hey, I know that we need to keep track of all of our emails for discoverability and compliance purposes, because there is a legal requirement there and we can't afford to lose data or have chunks of data. We've just decided that we're going to start only keeping track of email on Monday through Thursday, but for the sake of cutting costs on storage, we're not going to, or whatever the reason is, we're not going to capture and keep emails that were sent on Friday. They're not going to be discoverable. That's okay, right? That's a data gap that your compliance officer would not be okay with. That wouldn't work. And it's the same with chats. Chats have similar compliance restrictions on them. As we move into an intelligence first AI powered workplace world, and our companies evolve the workflows they're in, and we think more about how we're leveraging it and more about what we need to provide to the agents that are working alongside us, we suddenly start to realize that all of our conversations, all of our one-off collaborative opportunities that weren't previously captured, that's now data. And we have to make a decision in that time, in that moment. How much data are we willing to lose? How much data are we willing to let be a gap? And the answer there is probably none. We maybe haven't thought about outfitting all these spaces with the proper tool sets to capture it, but we probably also don't like the idea of missing data. And this in reality is now data in this new world. So these are a couple of ways that they're questions that organizations are not really asking in this way yet, right? They're thinking we need to adopt AI. They're thinking we need to outfit conference rooms in a traditional sense, but they're not really stopping to think about how we're now building new actual workflows that are leaving data gaps if we don't have every space accounted for. Even if we do have every space accounted for in some kind of way, you still have moments where you're accepting data loss. Let's say you have a room that's outfitted for a BYOD. There's a lot of organizations out there that still have a lot of BYOD present. It's convenient, it's just the way they've always done it, whatever the reason is. There's a lot of rooms where that's just a setup. Well, those are now data gap zones, right? Every time a BYOD meeting happens, that room is likely not licensed with what it needs to be licensed for. If it's in another platform that you're meeting with someone on, it's not discoverable and viewable by the agents that need to work on that data after the fact. So these are design considerations, room choices, space choices that we have to begin to wade through and understand how it actually impacts the smarter environment that we're trying to build. This is exactly where a partnership like Shure and Microsoft Teams creates a truly better together scenario for a number of reasons. We have partnered very closely with Microsoft in the last couple of years as we've gone beyond providing a collection of certified audio peripherals in meeting spaces to providing full-on certified room solutions. So we'll cover what those are in just a moment here. Couple pillars that are specific to Shure that I want to make sure I talk about, before I jump into our portfolio and talk about how it fits into these different design considerations. One is we have principles of seamless performance, meaning for as long as we've been an organization, right? It's 100 years now. We have held to the fact that our products need to hold up in the most trying of environments, back to being involved in making communications equipment during world wars, et cetera. We have put our equipment through the test, made sure that we're bringing quality devices that do not skip a beat, do not cut out when you are relying on them most, and will perform under strain. We have this embedded in our culture that we produce products that have seamless performance. So any space that you're looking to equip the right devices to capture this AI-powered data point, you know that you can rely on the devices in those spaces. Second, the secure and globally managed approach. We have a tool in place, a cloud-based tool called Shure Cloud, right? And that is our cloud-based device management platform that you can manage not just team certified solutions and room devices, but the entire portfolio of Shure solutions. And many organizations that have known Shure for a long time because they have their audio equipment in their educational facilities or wherever it is throughout their buildings and their global footprints, they maybe haven't known Shure for room systems till very recently. Now, as they look at how to manage all that together, they understand this is truly a complete secure ecosystem that has been built, all manageable under one global tool. Very important. And we build our products for the future. We understand nobody wants to be making investments now. And an organization that has built the products the way they wanted to build them instead of building them alongside a trusted partner like Microsoft to make sure they're building for the future of the platform they're supporting. Nobody wants to make those investments and come to find out a year or two later, the devices that they bought are not actually capable of supporting new feature sets because they didn't work closely with Microsoft or whatever the case is. We have a very strong and close relationship alongside our various different team counterparts at Microsoft side to make sure as we build out our room solutions, they are in line with Microsoft's vision for how they're building out their platform. They serve the needs of the important AI first tool sets that are being developed, and that we're able to provide updatable hardware that customers can rely on for years to come. And as you'll see in a couple of the options we're going to go through in a minute here, some of these options are also saying, hey, instead of you having to now buy other devices to augment what you already had in order to achieve this new capability with Microsoft, we're able to provide simpler all-in-one form factors to meet some of those challenging needs. Not going to dwell too much on this slide, right? There's a couple key points in here that I think are, again, as you get to know who Shure is, why we're in this space, and what we bring to the space. These are some important pieces to touch on because they speak a lot to who we are as a company and what our values are. But that first goal there is that we want to empower all meeting participants, especially in an AI-powered workplace. I mean, think about it. When it comes to data points in a room, an AI needing to use those data points, you need the full context. You don't want part of the context. You don't want some people feeling like and being perceived by the agent as not being present in the room or being hidden behind a person because the camera's at the wrong angle or whatever the situation is. Everybody in that meeting, both in the room and beyond, needs to be empowered to be present, to be heard, to be accurately captured in transcripts so that their contributions to collaboration are carried forward into the overall AI strategy that's being adopted. That second part there, enterprise ready, I already kind of spoke to the reliability, the performance that we bring. Truly, we build our solutions to build upon each other, to use common principles across solution sets, to be future ready in terms of easy to deploy, having security be factored in from the very inception of a product, and remotely manage them, again, through Shure Cloud or through the Teams Pro Portal as certified devices in the case of some of the rooms we're going to talk about. And the last thing here is just, it's a part of our DNA that goes all the way back to our founder. And it has been impressed upon every generation and every version of the company as it has grown and brought on new capabilities, new product areas throughout the years. What's been a central theme for us, and it's very important to who we are and that we continue to operate in this way, is that we have ensured extremely great customer success situations through the service we provide, for being there for the customers when they need it. When they bring us back something and say, hey, there's actually a problem here, something doesn't work, we dive into that head first to figure out why that is, what went wrong, where can we make it better, or if it wasn't something that is actually product related, we help our customers get to the end of the bottom of that and figure out what they actually need, right? And when a customer knows that they can get real service and they feel cared about, it makes them, there's a bond that develops there. There's a partnership that develops there. No longer is a customer looking at a device manufacturer, just a device manufacturer. There's a partnership in terms of building the right tools that is needed in organizations and ensuring that they are reliable at every stage of their use in the company. So now I get to the part that I really like to do, right? I like the strategy that we just talked about. I like to dive into the elements of talking about future facing concepts in the organization and things we need to think about and consider. But I am a device geek at heart. I love, like I mentioned earlier, I love creating video content that is centered around how-tos, device overviews. I like to discover all the features and capabilities. I like to showcase various things about devices, especially in the Teams certified world. And so this part where I get to walk through a portfolio and talk a little bit about the things I found particularly cool and unique about these solutions, this is where I get excited and geek out a bit more, right? So I'm happy and excited to go through this part of it. But on this particular slide, you can see three different areas that I'm going to speak to as it relates to our portfolio. Our portfolio is actually in the collaboration side quite a bit. It goes wider than this, but I'm focusing in on room solutions as it relates to the design considerations that need to be made and the predictability that some rooms need, the flexibility that other rooms need, and how we have solutions to solve for each one of those nuanced spaces, as well as all the different various sizes of rooms. So we're going to talk about a modular room system approach with our IntelliMix room kits. We're going to then pivot into the IntelliMix foundation system. And as you'll notice, as you look at these two, those are both Windows-based solutions, certified Microsoft Teams rooms, Windows-based solutions. And you'll see that the compute and the touch panel on the foundation system looks identical to the IntelliMix room kits. It is, right? Every single one of our room kits has the foundation system at the core. But each of those room kits has been built with an audio and video component, even though it is a modular approach that is properly fitted for the right size room. And the needed software is on board the foundation system to support the Hudley camera choice per the bundle you choose. Because Hudley is who we have partnered with on the video side. We'll talk about some of those options in a second here. Foundation system is really cool because you're like, okay, well, but that's just the compute and touch panel. What about the rest of the room? Great question. I'm glad you asked that. And that is because it's not a one size fits all scenario out there for many customers, right? Many people are like, well, look, I've already made some investments. I've got these BYOD rooms that, Microsoft is kind of talked to me about how it's really important that these provide a native Teams rooms experience. We agree. We want to convert these rooms, but I've already made a significant investment in these intelligent cameras from some other third party, or maybe they already have some other Shure audio devices or even some third-party Dante connected devices. They want to use them. They can actually put this at the heart and center of the video and audio components and have a team certified solution with that compute and that touch panel. And that's a game changer for so many organizations to have that level of flexibility and that return on investment that is always such an important conversation. So we'll dive into that a little more. Finally, IntelliMix Bar Pro. This is the latest, the newest out there. It is coming to market very soon. We announced this at ISE. All-in-one video collaboration bar, as you can see, Android-based, built on Microsoft's MDEP operating system. And just looking at this image, I'm not going to go into it right now because we're going to go into depth on this at the very end of the presentation. You'll notice right away that is a rather unique and different, innovative way to have done the camera system. And right you are in thinking that, and we'll talk about why. Let's take a look at this other slide here for just 1 second, though, before I dive into the IntelliMix room kits. I want to call it, like I said, we go beyond the room kits and foundation system and the all-in video bar. We've actually been in the team certified space for quite some time with our MicroFlex line of audio peripherals for the room. We have a number of partners throughout the organization, other manufacturers that you might be familiar with. You might actually have some of their room systems in your organizations, right? But they have repeatedly and reliably turned to Shure when they need to solve for extra large, complex rooms where there are serious acoustic challenges, or they have reached the limits of what the audio built into their solutions can do. They partner with Shure to get true, seamless, crystal clear audio for any of those large, complex, acoustically painful environments. So that is the other part of what we bring to a room design conversation. It doesn't have to. The room kits, the foundation system, the all-in bar are a great place to start if you're looking to replace or you're starting from net new. But if you're also just looking at, we've got to reach further into rooms where we've already made investments. We need better audio in those spaces. There are also certified solutions that lend to a better, more AI-powered workplace. Now let's talk about the IntelliMix room kits. I think I skipped ahead too fast. I did. All right. I'm going to see if I skipped 2 there. No, I didn't. Thanks for bearing with me. All right. The IntelliMix room kits. There are 4 bundles available. Now, as we step through each of these, you'll see they just start to vary as we step up little by little because they're built for small all the way up to large rooms where we've got more complex needs. Now, at the smaller end of it, again, every one of these has that foundation system at the core. Shure built compute running a software-based IntelliMix DSP. That's a really big deal. If you're not that familiar with DSPs, what their role has been in mixing audio peripherals from around the room, it usually takes quite a bit of configuration, some real know-how in that regard. The IntelliMix DSP software that is on board the compute automates so much of that and just makes it an automatic setup to where you connect in your peripherals that you see here, and there is no additional configuration required for the audio. It just works. It's a beautiful thing. In addition to providing capabilities like AI Deverb, AI Denoiser, and acoustic echo cancellation, things like that, all those fancy bells and whistles to clean up audio that you could want. We do it the Shure way, so you know that it's going to be 100% crystal clear. At the smaller end of it, for small, medium rooms, we've got a single MXA 902 microphone slash speaker. Why that is important, right? Because oftentimes you're looking at either a microphone or a speaker, and depending on your room design considerations, that might be the right way to approach it. But when you need kind of a pre-built bundle to be able to standardize on and say, this is my solution for all my small rooms, this is my solution for all my medium rooms, it's amazing to be able to have a single in-ceiling device that does both your mic array and your speakers, and it's PoE powered, right? So one cable going into that, running back into your network so that it can be paired with the IntelliMix room kit on the back end. So very cool capability there. No audio peripherals on your conference room tables, cluttering them. This is an in-ceiling, sleek look, and it makes sure you have much better coverage because it's a top-down audio capture approach, right? Rather than trying to come from the front of the room and reach far back. You might have good audio at the front. It gets poorer as you go to the back. When you've got a top-down approach, it captures everything beautifully. So the MXA 902 on a small room with a Hudley IQ. Okay, that is Hudley's and smaller intelligent camera. And on board the compute is the Hudley software that will, you just plug in any of these Hudley solutions and back on the compute, it does everything it needs to do for its default settings, no configuration required. And the Hudley IQ gives you just the right amount of intelligent video capabilities that you would need for those smaller places. Now, as you step up into a medium or even some smaller, large rooms, we upgrade the Hudley IQ to a Hudley L1, more capabilities, more video features there. Still, a MXA 902 captures all the audio in a medium to smaller, large room pretty well. Stepping up to an IMXRK70, this is where you've got a bigger room, right? Maybe a longer room, and you want to go a little bit further back in that space. You're really talking about a pretty large room at this point. That's where we would put 2 of those MXA 902s in there. And again, simplicity, ease of deployment is key because those both get plugged in back to the compute, and you don't have to do any configuration or definition of how they mix together. The system is intelligent enough and knows what to do with both of them plugged in to capture the right audio from the right place in the room and even everything out the way that it should. So very powerful system with no advanced audio configuration required. You get the best of a pro audio type solution without all the pro audio configuration that typically would go into that. And finally, if you need a more production-like experience, more dynamic video-like experience in the room, you want the video software to use multiple cameras to maybe get different angles of the room, cut back and forth during different video modes, kind of a cinematic experience almost. The Hudley Crew is perfect for that. So the IMXRK80 is the same as the previous bundle. We just swap out a Hudley L1 with the Hudley Crew system. So that is the IntelliMix room kit side of it. All 4 bundles, no matter what room size you could possibly have, it's very easy to define your standards and get the most premium audio and video experience you could want. An easy to deploy form factor and package. Now, the foundation system, again, at the heart of everything we just discussed. This is the first compute on the market in this space that has an onboard software-based DSP. I talked a little bit earlier about why that's so important, what a big deal it is. I would encourage you, if you're not familiar with the DSP requirements and what that usually means, do a little bit of research and understand why it's such a big deal to have that packaged up and deployed in a software form factor with automatic configuration and mixing on the compute. It truly is a very cool thing. But that is the first in market to do so. And as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of the foundation system is where you don't want just the one size fits all approach of here's my bundles for room kits. You've already made camera investments or you've already made audio investments. You want to expand the ROI. This is a beautiful way to do that because you can now say, hey, we've outgrown the space as a BYOD space. We're using previously purchased peripherals and outfitting them in a different area, but we don't want to lose the investment and we need full native teams certified solutions. you can do that with the foundation system, and it gives you all the flexibility you need to reconfigure a room to be an AI powered facing workhorse. A little bit more about what's on the compute here. I already kind of mentioned you got that onboard DSP that does the auto mixing. It's got several of those other features that the DSP does when it comes to the denoiser, the AI deverb. It's got a built-in 8-channel DSP, which will mean something to a lot of people that have worked in that space. That's a pretty big deal. It's running Windows 11 IoT. A couple other things I'll call out here is that because it's a Windows MTR solution, if your organization wants to simplify deployment at scale, you can leverage Windows Autopilot with Auto Login for Microsoft Teams Rooms, a very handy way to work with the partner and be able to just plug things in, have them automatically be configured and automatically signed into. No more fuss required. Again, another one of those reasons why truly Shure plus Microsoft Teams is better together. On the form factor itself, if you're familiar with our P300 product, also a team certified solution, it has that same sleek industrial design as the P300. It's got a dual display output, which is perfect for Microsoft Teams rooms, right? They support 2 displays in a Microsoft Teams room. A very clean cable management approach at the back with all the little rubber grips there to hold cables in place, make sure they don't get accidentally pulled. And then you've got the wall mounting backgrid that's included in case you want to mount it to the wall behind the display or however you're wanting to hide that in the room. Finally, the last bit of this that I'll touch on is the Teams Rooms console. Okay, this is an 11-inch high-resolution display. That's a little bit more display space than you typically get on most displays, so it's easier to see, easier to navigate. When it comes to displays, people usually feel it's nicer to have a bigger display, right? It does come with a angle already built in, as you can see there, that 20-degree angle, but there's a kickstand built in that you can flap out. It snaps into place to give you a 40-degree orientation if you want it to be tilted up a little bit more. And while it is meant to typically be set on a table, if you've got a room where there is no table or you just don't want anything on the table, there is an optional wall mount that you can use with it. Single RJ45 connection coming in from it for that connection back on in the long cable installations. And then it includes, as you would expect from a Teams Rooms panel, Teams Rooms touch controller, the passive infrared motion sensor on the front for auto wake capabilities. All right, we're going to pivot from Windows-based solutions into the all-in-one form factor, which is oftentimes a popular and right choice for the design that you are putting forward in a room, right? A lot of organizations are starting to say, hey, we want to build standards, but we also want simple and quick deployments. All-in-one form factors are great for that because it's less components, it's not as modular, it's quicker to install, takes more of the guesswork out, everything's on board. The compute, the audio, the video, and then your touch controller, again, is back at your table or mounted elsewhere. So this is Shure's first bar to market and our first product that actually has Shure built video capabilities on board. A very proud moment for the company and very cool for me on the geeky level to be able to talk about it and showcase it. And what I love about it is that Shure didn't just bring a solution to market that said, hey, we're going to make a video bar too. Here's our camera. We said, we're going to bring our first video product to market and we're going to innovate in a way that actually solves real world challenges and problems and conference rooms that are part of these design considerations we've referenced several times, right? As I'm designing these rooms, I want everyone to be equally represented. And we put a lot of thought into what that means in some of these rooms where bars get put into, and we baked that into the way that we have lined up our 4 cameras on the front. Let me go ahead and jump over to this first part here. I'm going to kind of break this down into 3 tiers for you where we talk about video, audio, and then the enterprise ready side of it. On the video, you'll see that we have 4 cameras, 4 4K AI-powered cameras on board. In the center, there is one wide-angle camera keeping track of what's going on in the room and one telephoto lens that can shoot a lot further down into the room, into larger spaces, without sacrificing video quality at all. But what's really unique here that you do not see anywhere else in the industry is the 2 cameras on the outside edges of the bar angled inward. I'm going to paint a picture for you so that you understand why this is important and what it solves for. Imagine a longer boardroom or just any conference room, well, your traditional conference room, long table, people lined up down the sides of it, and that camera right in the middle at the front of room tries to look down, and maybe you put that device into an active speaker mode, right? Someone starts speaking toward the end of the table. And so the camera tries to focus in on that person, but they're so far down there and there's so many people lined up at this long table that we can't really get from a center camera angle a good clean shot of that active speaker. If someone else is leaning into the table at that point, they're going to block that person altogether. If they're not leaning in and they're just sitting there, chances are a portion of their face is getting picked up in that zoomed in shot of the active speaker. It's not an equitable situation. It doesn't allow you to capture everyone in the room cleanly in all video modes because that one camera position in the middle of the bar just doesn't do the trick for all scenarios, for many of them, but not all of them. Other solutions on the market have attempted to solve this by saying, oh, that's okay. We'll just put another device in the middle of the table that captures everybody face from that angle. And we'll use images from the front of the room as well as images from the middle of the table. Or maybe we'll put cameras on the edges of the room and they'll capture different angles too. And that way we're capturing faces from different angles. And it does start to solve it. But we made an original design decision to have a simple all-in-one form factor deployment that is a single bar at the front of the room. Well, we've just gotten rid of that notion because we're trying to solve equity problems. Now we've introduced more devices, more cabling, further installation time, more cost. It's not what we intended to do with an all-in-one video bar, right? We didn't want to have that be the case with the IntelliMix Bar Pro. So these two cameras on the side are able to capture cross-table shots down long tables so that if that middle camera is not ideal for capturing the active speaker at the end of the table off to the left, it'll determine, oh, the camera on the right will capture a great cross-angle shot of them, and it's a telephoto lens. So even though they're way far back in the room, it's going to get a crisp, clear, cropped-in shot of them, and everybody is represented equally no matter where they're at in the space. So the modes we support, group framing, active speaker mode, and companion mode. What companion mode does is when you've got up to 4 people collaborating in that space, and it gives each one of them their own individual space on the screen, right? It's meeting equity at play. When a 5th person comes into the room, it'll default back to just framing in the whole group of the room. So those are the modes that it gives you. And we call all this together the IntelliMix View AI framing capability. So truly unique, innovative, and I would say groundbreaking approach to the way video is done in conference rooms. Solves a lot of these headaches and challenges for organizations that understand that the video context of what is happening in a room is a data point that AI is using now and will use even more into the future. We have to make those considerations as we design our rooms now for the AI-powered workplace we're building into the future. Now, on the audio side, we're Shure, right? Of course, we weren't going to drop the ball or do anything lackluster on the audio side. There is a powerful mic array built into this bar, and as well as 2 speakers right up at the front there. It is designed for large rooms. Okay, designed for large rooms. Now it's a great solution for your medium rooms as well, but it is designed so that the hardware capabilities from a video and audio perspective fill an entire large room by definition with good, clear speaker sound and capture even the quietest talkers from the back of the room very well for the far end to hear them clearly. However, we do have some future facing kind of day 2 audio expansion capabilities at the back of the bar. There is a built-in 4-port switch that's kind of firewalled off, only meant for those Ethernet-based connections to at the first device out the gate that will support this would be our MXA 902. So if you get a room where you have particularly challenging acoustics, or maybe it's bigger than most large spaces, you want to extend audio further back, you'll be able to put an MXA 902 in there to complement the bar. And that statement is super important. It doesn't take over the audio from the bar. It works in conjunction with the audio on the bar. And most other solutions, if you extend audio, it's either or. You're either using the audio at the bar or you're using the extension audio. In this case, the onboard software-based DSP mixes both together and you have flawless audio to fill any space. On the enterprise ready side of things, I think I had my slide where I had something slid down a little too far. I didn't get that quite the way it should have been. But the things I want to highlight here is that we truly built this to be enterprise ready, right? This is a large room and medium room solution. Organizations are going to want to put it in those spaces, and they're going to quickly understand the value that it has in powering the AI powered strategy that they're adopting. This is going to be something that organizations want to standardize on and manage at scale. So it is built on MDEP, Microsoft Devices Ecosystem Platform, both the bar and the touch controller running on MDEP. It's also got the ability to be managed within Shure Cloud, as well as other IoT systems. It'll be, of course, managed within the Teams Pro portal. And it's got the ability to be managed alongside all the rest of the Shure portfolio that you're adopting and making standards in other ways, your audio peripherals, room kits. It's a piece of that whole story managed accordingly. And finally, that simplified and flexible design. You can truly say, I want an all-in-one video bar form factor for the front of my room. I don't want to have to complicate my setup by adding other devices to solve awkward video problems or to solve less than adequate audio problems. You can rely on this one solution to properly outfit a large space with simplicity and repeatability across a large enterprise. So this kind of brings me to the question I want to wrap things up with. Aside from getting you familiar with our portfolio and how they each uniquely address different environments, different design considerations, different types of rooms, and how they each uniquely address the way AI is consuming the data points in those rooms, the question I would bring back to all you is, what is the specific value and goals that you're seeking to achieve as you tackle your AI in the workplace strategy, right? We can say, oh, well, we're adopting Copilot. Well, we're starting to use facilitator and agents. That's great, but why? What are you actually looking to get from it? What way is that streamlining operations in your organization? How are you saving money? How are you extending ROI? And I think that as we ask ourselves these questions, we realize, well, in order to do that, a big part of that answer is, well, we're changing the way we work. We're changing our workflows. We are incorporating agentic counterparts into what we're doing. And that's what's enhancing our workflows and making us work more productively and get more done and get, achieve better revenue outcomes. It's by changing the workflows that underlie it all. And in order to do that, we can't just buy licensing for AI components. We can't just say we're talking to Copilot in our daily workplace. We're using Copilot to design documents. That's great. But where the workflows are changing, where the AI agents are present, where we're meeting and collaborating, and we're understanding, data is happening in those back and forths. We've got to ensure that we're answering this question openly and honestly with ourselves, and then choosing the solutions that will properly outfit those spaces for the most powerful outcomes we could hope to have in the AI strategy that we're adopting. Finally, the call to action, aside from asking yourself that question, is, hey, if you are going to be in Orlando for M365 conference, and what is this? Not next week, right? This is a couple weeks out. I'm getting lost in space and time, but it's coming up fast, April 21st to the 23rd. Come see us, right? Booth 613. We will be showing off both the Intellimix room kits and the Intellimix Bar Pro in our booth at the event. And I will be delivering a session on April 22nd. That's the Wednesday in the morning. The top 5 questions IT leaders should be asking about meeting room tech, but rarely do. I think you'll find some of the themes we've talked about today woven in there, but it should be a good time. That's the one thing that I struggle with webinars. I like engagement from the audience. I like questions to be asked. I like to have conversations in the middle of it. So I hope that some of you will show up to that, bring questions, and get ready to interrupt me in the middle of a presentation, and let's talk about some of this stuff. And it's just, that's how I like to present. That's how I like to tackle things. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining us today, for sitting through and listening what Shure brings to the table and how we enhance the AI-powered workplace that you're building. I'm going to hand it back over to Ella at this time.
Thank you so much, Josh, for that. It was such an insightful and a great, exciting session. Thank you Josh, to everyone joining us on the live stream, thank you so much for being here. We're wrapping it up shortly. We invite you, just like what Josh said, visit their booth at 613 to rub elbows with Josh. Meet him personally at the Microsoft 365 Community Conference. If you don't have your conference pass yet, register now by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to nextgen365events.com. Use the discount code SAVE150 to save 150 on your registration pass. Join us, apply for the Microsoft 365 Community Grant Program or scan the code on your screen. Visit change3e.com/grants. It's actually a program to support small businesses and nonprofit with hands-on learning, expert guidance, and financial assistance for M365 Con 26. If you'd like to participate in the live Q&A with Josh, please be sure that you join us using the link provided in your calendar invite. Bye for now.